Good morning. Today we are going to continue with unit, I think it was 6, which is the endocrine system that we have finished, and the musculoskeletal system. Today we are going to study the skeleton, point 5, page 98. And we are going to study the different parts of the skeleton. Today we are going to focus on the axial skeleton, which is the axial skeleton. El eje. Axial means axis. The axial, the central part of the skeleton. The next day we were going to study the appendages, okay? The appendicular skeleton, which are going to be the arms and the legs. But right now we are going to study all these parts, okay? From the head till the coccyx. Okay? So this axial skeleton, I will send a picture to a model for you to see watch the diagram properly. It's going to be divided in the skull, facial bones, the rib cage, and the spinal column. Okay, the different bones that are going to be part of each. So the skull, the cráneo, is going to be like a very joint bones, many joint bones, and the main function is going to be for protection of the brain, right? You're going to have these 4 types of bones: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. ¿Vale? Frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital. Frontal, forehead, right? So it's going to be this part of the skull. The parietal one is going to be this part here, where the meninges are going to be attached. Then you have the temporal one. When the temporal one is where you are going to find the ears, no, are surrounded the ears. And occipital is going to be this last part of the skull. Okay. The temporal one is going to do the auditory channels. The hearing, they are going to be here. And parietal is going to hold the meninges. Remember the meninges? Now, there are these 3 layers that are going to cover the brain, and they are for protection. You have heard about meningitis, no? Meningitis, which is an inflammation of these 3 layers. So these 3 layers that are so important, they are going to be attached here to the parietal bone. Then we are going to have the facial bones, the faciales, no? So what is going to be the nasal bones? Be careful, because most of the bone, the nose is going to be cartilage, but we are going to have the bone, the nasal bone, the upper jaw, which cannot be moved, and the lower jaw or mandible. Right? Which is both of them, they are going to hold the teeth, and the lower one is going to be able to move, right? To talk, to eat, so many things. Then we have the rib cage. One of the most important bones here is going to be the sternum, which is a very hard bone that is going to help the ribs to be attached. Some of them, at least. We will see why. The rib cage, the function of the rib cage, what is going to be? To protect all the internal organs of our abdomen and part of the thorax. Okay, so we have the sternum, that is this big, thick bone that is going to be right here. Then we have ribs, but we are going to divide ribs in 3 different types: true, false, and floating ribs. True, why? Because they are 7, and they are going to be joined to the sternum. They are the upper ones, and they are going to be joined to the sternum by cartilage, and they are going to be joined also to the spinal column. Okay, so they are joined to bone both ways, frontal way and front way, and part and the back. Okay, so true ribs joined to sternum and to spinal column. False ribs, we have 3. They are linked to each other and and the last two ribs. What does this mean? That they are linked to each other and they are joined to the true ribs, not to the sternum. They are joined to the true ribs. And of course, they are joined to the backbone, no? To the spinal column. And floating ribs, they are not joined with any. So in the frontal part, in this part, they are not going to be joined to any bone. They are going to. That's why we say that they are floating, because they don't have a union here, a joint here to the sternum or to the other ribs. But of course, they have a connection with the spinal column. Okay. This one, some famous people has removed them to reduce their shape, not to look thinner. I think it's something, I don't know, I don't agree, but they have removed some of them. And then we have the spinal column. So we have talked about the head, the skull and the fascial bones. We have talked about the rib cage. And now we are going to study all the bones of the spinal column. So we have these ones: cervical bones, dorsal, lumbar, sacral, and coccygeal. Okay, all these bones are going to help movement. They are going to protect the spinal cord, which is their main function. And they are going to be special bones because muscles and tendons are going to be attached there. So two big functions is to protect the spinal cord and of course to enable movement. Okay? So this is going to be the axial skeleton. Okay, don't mix it with the appendicular that we will study it next week. Next week? No, next Thursday. Okay, thank you.